All right. Looks like I have a handful of people on. Somebody chat message, if you can see that, if you can hear me and see me, give me like a, yep, good to go. All right, perfect. We'll get started here in just a couple minutes. I'm just going to give some people time to hop on. One thing that I do know, and I'll just tell you guys, I don't think it'll be a huge issue, but with the system I use, there's a little bit of a lag time between what I'm saying and when you guys are hearing it. So, but at any time, if anybody has questions, you can put them in the chat. I'll try to keep my eyes on that as well. So we'll get started here in just a couple minutes. All right. You know what? I'm a kind of guy that I like to be on time. So thank you guys for being early and or on time at 7:31. So I'm going to get rolling and we'll probably have some people join here. I appreciate a lot of you guys. I'm just very grateful and thankful to be able to do this kind of thing. You know, this day and age and technology is kind of cool just to be able to, you know, gosh, I know even just looking at the list of who's in here, 10 or 11 of you right now. I know a lot of you guys spread the word on this, and I think I have 55 or 60 people registered. So appreciate you guys for spreading the word. Everybody just needs this information. So if you end up getting something out of this, learning something, I think most of you guys know that this should be recorded. So hopefully that works because it's supposed to be, and then I'll be able to send that out to you guys. So expect to receive an email with the recording, and then you guys can share that with people. Absolutely free to do that. So let me just make sure everything on my tech end is good here before I really dive in. Yeah, I think we're good. So feel free to use the chat. Aaron, hi, Aaron. Love you, man. So yes, glad you guys are on. So I'll keep my eye on the chat over here as well. So ask questions. And if I don't catch them during the talk at the end, I can, obviously I'm here to stay for as long as I need to. I always try to keep these, you know, classes at an hour, but if anybody knows me, I know a number of you guys do know me pretty well. You know, I get passionate, you know, I'm an educator at heart. And so, you know, this might be a little longer than an hour, but I'd really encourage you guys to stay to the end, because in the end, we're going to go over some of the really good things that you need to know as far as taking care of yourself and your family over the winter months. So again, just appreciate you being here, and let's get rocking and rolling. So I'm going to turn my screen share on here, and let's make sure that works. If you guys, once you can see my screen, let me know if you can see my screen in the chat. Somebody just give me a thumbs up or a whatever. Okay. I think we're good to go. Perfect. So, how to keep yourself and your family healthy this winter. And I will say, I got to mention this too. If any of you have been to my office, I'm at inside of Alethea Integrative Medicine, and it's a primary care medical clinic that's just very integrative in their approach. But anyway, we're in South Lincoln near 56 and Pine Lake. And on the other side of my wall and down below is a nice, lovely little dance studio. And they have their music playing. The girls are dancing down there. So I don't know if y'all can hear that, but oh man, it's pretty loud right now. So apologize if there's some background noise. But we're gonna, if anybody feels like they want to do a little, ballet or anything while you're watching here, feel free. You might catch me doing that. I don't know. You never know. I never know what I'm gonna do. So anyway, back to this. Optimizing your health so you can fully engage in life and business. Honestly, guys, this is for anybody. It doesn't matter, old, young, does not matter. This information, it's never too late to start taking care of your health. So if you're later in years, completely fine. But you're going to hear me mention a lot about kids because, obviously I have a heart and a passion for kids and the generations that are coming up behind even my generation, which I'm 41. Gosh, it's just devastating. It's devastating to see what's happening in our country with chronic illness. And I think most of you guys know that. But the statistics are just astounding and astoundingly bad in not a good way. And so let's take care of our kiddos. And so this is great information, whether you have kids, some of you grandkids, maybe you don't have any kids or grandkids, maybe it's just neighbors, people you love, people you care about. Pass this information along to them because it's just stuff that people don't know and they need to know. Okay, so I hope you guys learned something about this. Now, here's the deal. This screen, now, of course, I'm a little biased, but this slide right here is my favorite of the entire presentation. Why? Because obviously there's three beautiful kids. I mean, ignore the goofy looking bearded guy in there. But these are my three kiddos, Raylan, Ruby, and Stetson. Their ages 10, 7, and Stetson just turned 5. And I'll tell you what, this is what it's all about. I talk to my patients about this all the time. It's like, why? What is your why? Right? Like, what is your why for wanting to be here tonight? What's your why for, maybe you're going through a health struggle right now. What's the why? Why do you want to get healthier? And of course, I think most of us can say, well, selfishly, and it's not selfish, but like you want to be healthier, right? You want to thrive. You don't want to suffer. You don't want to just trudge your way through this life. We only have one life on this planet, right? So like, let's make the most of it. But that's part of it for me. But, rewind, 8-10 years ago, when I started having a lot of my own struggles, my why was these three. Like, I needed to be a better dad. I needed to be a better husband. I needed to be better, in all areas of my life. And I was struggling. And I know a lot of you guys are too, whether it's health issues, mental health issues, energy, just vitality. All of these things are so important. And if you're struggling on a day-to-day basis, like the people around you that you care most about are suffering as well, right along with you. And that's when my eyes started to be opened, right? Is like, man, these three little ones don't deserve my leftovers when I get home at night. I'm exhausted by the end of my day. This is back then, right? Like if I come home exhausted and burnt out and stressed out, like they don't deserve that. So why do I keep putting myself? So I had to figure my own health journey out, guys. And those of you who do know me, my story probably pretty well is, I check the boxes. And this is where, what I do now in functional medicine, you guys will learn a little bit about tonight. It's just such a powerful thing because I was one of those people who I always exercised. I was always into fitness. I always, paid attention to my nutrition, took care of my body the best I knew how, which was, I feel like I have quite a bit of knowledge in that area. And it's like, why was I still struggling? Why was I still having chronic fatigue? Why was my testosterone levels just like plummeting when I'm 30, 35 years old? Why was I having gut issues? Why was I having anxiety and some of these mental health issues? Like it was getting to the root causes of those things, which is what functional medicine is all about, AKA root cause medicine. And it wasn't until I started testing myself and stopped guessing and trying to just do more things, take more supplements, all these kind of things, before I really got down to the roots of what was going on inside of my body and was able to turn around my life. And I can say now at 41 years old, I feel better. I have more energy. I even probably look better, all the things, and function better, of course, most importantly, than I have in years and years, maybe ever, guys. And so I want that for all of you. And so that's what tonight's all about. Okay, now quick disclaimer here. I'm not going to read through this, but you guys know, like, I don't know who you are. Well, I know a lot of you, obviously. There's a lot of people on here that are current patients of mine, past patients of mine, but anybody I don't know, because there's people from probably all over the state, maybe even country here on this call tonight, or that will be watching this. I don't know you. I don't know your health. I don't know your conditions. I don't know any of that. So obviously always best to consult with someone on an individual basis, your healthcare providers and some before you take any recommendations. Of course, I have to say that most of the things I'm going to talk about tonight are completely safe. But there are certain instances where you need to double check and double cross, making sure you're not doing anything you shouldn't be doing. So with that being said, I mean, I've taken patients off of supplements. I've recommended that people talk to their physicians about getting off medications because it happens quite frequently, pretty scarily, actually, how often it happens that people are on even medications, prescription medications that are contraindicated for maybe another medication they're on, maybe a condition they have. So you really have to be your own advocate. It's kind of sad to say that, but I encourage every one of my patients, even to keep me accountable. Like, ask me questions. If you don't think something's right, ask me. I'll go research it. But specifically, when you go into other professional offices, your primary care, your pediatrician, whoever, your specialist, like, you got to be your own advocate. Okay, so that holds true tonight. So do your research, ask questions. I'm here for you guys. On the bottom of the screen, you're going to see it all night long. My email, drscott@drscottfm.com. And you can get a hold of me anytime. Okay. Now, specifically, always consult if you're pregnant, if you're breastfeeding, or even for kids, pediatrics, dosages of certain things that might be recommended or talked about tonight, even natural herbal remedies and supplements. You just want to know what you're doing. Okay. So always talk to someone about that. All right. So let's dive in. So winter months, right? I mean, how many of us, and I wish I could see your faces. This is one thing I don't love about this system is I like to see your beautiful smiling faces, or, maybe you're falling asleep already. I don't know, but whatever it is, I want to see your face, but I can't. So how many of you guys, rhetorical questions, as I can't see you, like your kids or you are the one in the upper right and in the lower left, always sneezing, sinuses, allergies, flu bugs, colds, COVID. I mean, whatever. Can I say that word these days? I don't even know, whatever. So like you're just down and out so often. And it doesn't have to be just necessarily the winter months, but this is when it seems like these things kind of start taking control of our lives. Or do we want to be that little boy, giving the flex in the upper left and the kid on the lower right where he's just happy to eat vegetables? Yes, it is possible for your kids to like vegetables. Mine do. I don't know if you guys follow me on social media, but I posted this a while ago that if I make scrambled eggs in the morning for my kids, they're mad if I don't put spinach in it. Like, it's pretty funny. Like, my kids, we've brainwashed them basically. So, I mean, they're pretty healthy. They like their veggies. So we're going to talk a little bit tonight about acute and chronic illnesses. But here's the deal. I already mentioned this a while ago, is specifically chronic illnesses are just rampant. They're just taking over, adults, children alike. And like I said earlier, the generation coming up now is the most chronically ill generation ever. And yet we spend the most money. We have the most advanced health care system in the entire world in the history of mankind. Why is that, right? And so we're going to talk about a few of those things tonight. So the primary question that I want you to just kind of have in your brain and ask yourself just as we go through this topic tonight are these questions. Do you, for yourself or for those in your household, kids or whoever, do you support your immune system or are you suppressing it? You may not know the answer to that, okay? So hopefully tonight will shine some light on that. But a lot of us, I'd say probably majority of us, as far as generalizing Americans, okay, because I know a lot of you guys on this call tonight are healthy. You're doing your best to live healthy, but most of us are suppressing our immune system and we don't even know we're doing it. Okay, so that leaves us more susceptible and kind of open to more diseases, illnesses, and chronic conditions. And then number two is, how do you strengthen it? Or are you just kind of playing it safe, right? You can strengthen your immune system. You can build resilience in your body and in your immunity. You just got to know the right things to do. So I'm gonna give you a lot of info tonight. Please do your best. If you can't stay to the end and you have to log off, totally get it. But again, the recording will be out, and go watch the part that you missed, because at the end, towards the end, is when I'm going to kind of tie it all together, some of this information, and give you guys some recommendations that literally, if you follow and you kind of give some discipline to, that could change your health outcomes, literally your health outcomes, or those for your family. Okay. All right. Our healthcare system. Now, quotes, because again, I'm not going to go on too many tangents. Our healthcare system is amazing, life-saving in so many ways, but it's kind of more of a sick care system, right? I mean, I think we all get that time and time again. You catch a cold, you get a flu, whatever it is. You go in and you've probably all experienced this in our healthcare system, that you're given medications, or you're given recommended over-the-counter type medications that are, honestly, most of them are there as a Band-Aid. They're not actually fixing anything. They're not getting to the root causes of anything. They're there to almost suppress an illness or something going on, right? I mean, hopefully you guys all kind of understand that. And if you don't understand that, we can have another talk another time, but that is what most of these medications are doing. Okay. So here's the deal. I'm getting ahead of myself, but the things that I'm about to put up on the screen, what I want you to think about here is, if you're dependent on these, or if your kids are dependent on these kind of things, we need some changes, right? So Dayquil, NyQuil, cold and flu type stuff. If you're one and you feel like you're giving your kids or yourself Tylenol, or maybe you're constantly taking ibuprofen for headaches or pain relief or whatever it is, but Tylenol and fever reducers in that world, things like Mucinex, Claritin, Zyrtec, Benadryl, all these antihistamines. Guys, here's the point. I'm going to just use antihistamines just as an example, because again, I only have an hour and 15 minutes with you guys. I could talk about this stuff for days, but antihistamines are there to suppress a histamine response in your body, right? Logical, makes sense. Why is your body having a histamine reaction is the question. And that's the question that nobody ever addresses. Right? What's going on inside of you that's causing this excessive reaction to this allergen, this environmental thing, this food, whatever it may be? That is the question that you need to get to the root of. And and this is the other thing, is a lot of people get in this mindset of, oh, I just have to live with it. I've had it forever. That's not true. Now, there's a reality to some situations where something may not be able to be fixed 100%, but would you like to have 50 to 80% less allergy issues or sinus infections or headaches or, whatever it is, gas, bloating, constipation, whatever it is? Yeah. I mean, your life would change if you had even 50 to 60, 70% less of whatever you're suffering from. Right. So again, I think you guys get the point there, is we need to support our immune system and not suppress it with these types of things. Okay. Now, I know some of you are thinking this right now, because, I've done this for a long time and I get asked these kind of questions a lot. So here we go. Are these drugs, these over-the-counters or prescriptions, ever needed, and should you ever use them? Maybe, right? There are cases and times for everything. Like I said earlier already on slide 1 or 2, our medical and healthcare system is amazing. But here's the analogy I like to use. I have some of my best friends in the world are firefighters here in Lincoln, Nebraska, fire captains and such. And so I always think about this. It's like, firefighters are trained for life and death situations, right? Like not only with EMT and like life-saving CPR and all that kind of stuff, first aid, and when it comes to a fire, they're there to get the 4-alarm and the 3-alarm fires put out, right? To save lives and to save property, whatever it may be. Now, their job, and they could tell you this too, if there's a tiny little fire, like someone's burning out of a trash can or something, that's a 1-alarm fire. Like that's a waste of their time to have those kind of calls, right? So this is the point here. Our healthcare system with medications, with surgeries, great, fascinating, amazing, but it should be utilized mostly with those stage 3, 4, and 3-alarm fires. When you have a fever, when you have a cough, your kids have these things, and they start out as these little 1 and 2-alarm fires, don't call the paramedics, don't call the firefighters, right? Support your immune system. Give your body a chance to naturally do what God designed it to do. Get the crud out, right? So anyway, you guys get the point. I'm going to throw antibiotics in this category too. Antibiotics, we're going to talk about at the end, kind of towards the end of this, and you all need to hear this. And so please don't leave before then or rewatch, because the antibiotic story is something that we all need to know. Antibiotics can be life-saving. Of course they can be. They can literally save people's lives, but they're definitely being overutilized and overprescribed in scenarios where they're not needed. So you're thinking, some people are probably thinking, oh my gosh, Dr. Scott, he's just anti-medicine. I hope you understand that that's the furthest thing from the truth. I don't know how many of you guys, and I don't get into politics much, but Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is one that I've followed for years and years and years, because if you don't know, whether you like him or love him, that doesn't even matter. What that man stands for is the truth and science, right? And so he's been at the forefront of this, what's called the children's health defense, for years and years and years. He might have been even the one that started it, but children's health, he has a passion for our kids. And what he is about is science and evidence and knowing, without corruption, without money being involved, without all the, the profits and all of that. That is exactly how I am with this kind of stuff. If something works, show me and I will recommend it. Right. But what's happening is, like I said earlier, we live in more of a sick care system than an actual health care system. When's the last time you went to your physician or specialist and they taught you how to eat correctly? How many times have they told you after an antibiotic, here's what you need to do to make sure you offset the consequences of taking that antibiotic? Right? Most of you can say never to that question. And that's one of the problems that we have in our current system. Okay. So let me put it this way. Here's just kind of an analogy. Who's invited to the cleanup party, right? Who's invited to the party? What do I mean by that? So here you go. If you've been a parent or are a parent, do you clean up after your kids if they make a mess of their bedroom or the basement or whatever? Or do you, as at an age appropriate, do you train them to do it themselves, right? To know how to clean up, to have that responsibility. Right? I hope the answer is yes. I mean, I hope you do that. If you don't, I'm sorry. No shame, no guilt. Just maybe you should think about that. But anyway, if you do it for them over and over and over, they're going to learn that they don't have to put an effort. You're just going to take care of it. Why? I don't need to worry about it. Mom, Dad, they're going to take care of it. I can make a mess and it won't even matter. They just won't even show up to help clean up their mess eventually. They're just going to leave a mess and leave, right? So here's the point. This is exactly what happens inside of your body with your immune system when you use medications such as those ones on the other slide, fever reducers, cough suppressants. You're suppressing, you're not supporting anything. So you're literally telling your immune system, you're programming your immune system that, hey, I'm just going to take this medication so you don't need to worry about working correctly. So you literally build no resilience in your immune system. Okay? If you're going to do it for me every time, I'm going to stop showing up. And then thus it becomes weaker over time instead of the opposite. We want it to get stronger over time, right? We don't want to be sick. We don't want to get, nasty stuff that lingers and you can't get rid of it. And worse things too, obviously, cancers and, the mental health stuff like Alzheimer's and dementias. Did you guys know, tangent, super big tangent, but it came to my brain because a lot of people don't know this. There are a lot of researchers that are actually calling Alzheimer's and dementia type 3 diabetes. Let that sink in for a second, because if you know what diabetes is, it's a blood sugar and insulin issue. So basically, when your blood sugars are spiking and crashing, or you have elevated high blood sugars all the time, diabetics, it literally causes havoc in your body and all the other systems of your body, which is why it's so detrimental, right? So type 3 diabetes, they're saying this brain stuff is literally coming from things like high blood sugar, things that are not that hard to control if you know what to do, okay? And again, type 1, type 2 diabetes, totally different ball games there, but you guys get my point. What underlies diabetes and blood sugar issues is chronic inflammation. So basically, a chronic inflammatory response in your body, even at a low grade, but all the time, which I'm telling you guys, almost every one of us has. Low-grade chronic inflammation going on in our bodies, that is what's causing or contributing greatly to things like dementia, Alzheimer's, cardiovascular, diabetes, you name it, autoimmune issues of all sorts, okay? So that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. Over time, it just leads to more acute and chronic susceptibility to things. Things, like I said earlier, the immune system is getting weaker, not stronger. Okay. Another great example of this is, again, rhetorical question because I can't see you guys, but how many people maybe on this call, or do you maybe know, and this is just another example, that, you know, they start having reactions to food, like food allergies or food sensitivities that they've never had before. Why is that? Why could I eat eggs for 37 years, and then when I was 38 years old, all of a sudden they cause, you know, flare-ups like hives and rashes and whatever it is, gastrointestinal issues? It's partly due to what I'm covering here. There's probably some gut issues going on. Most of you guys have probably heard of leaky gut syndrome, things like that are happening. And as time goes on, it gets worse. Your immune system's not working. It's not healing itself. So boom, your body's had enough and now it starts to react. That's basically what happens. So get down to the root causes. All right, be prepared to kick the sick without medication. So basically, you know, this is research, guys. Like, again, I'm kind of on the evidence-based side of things. Not everything can be researched super well and just the system and how it's set up. But you guys could read research article after research article about fevers and about cough management. And basically what it comes down to, one practitioner that I absolutely love, if you've ever heard of him, is Dr. Josh Axe. In this book here, if you've never read it, I get it. It's called Eat Dirt. So it's talking specifically about leaky gut syndrome and how that can underlie so many issues. But also he talks a lot about fevers and cough management, respiratory stuff. And basically some of the greatest quotes are, not all exposure to germs and bacteria are inherently bad. What that means is the more germs and bacteria that we are exposed to, hence the title of the book, Eat Dirt, the more resilient we're going to become. This is why it was really difficult for me in, 2021 or whatever years, that one thing that was going around. It was really hard for me to grasp, wearing masks and, cleaning everything with bleach. And it's like, there was a lot of people that were predicting like the years after COVID were going to be really catastrophic on our health. And we're seeing that mostly. And I'm not going down like a rabbit hole of, vaccines and not vaccines. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about literally just bleaching everything, like not being exposed. And our kids weren't exposed to germs and bacteria. They weren't allowed to touch each other or touch anything, and everything's being wiped down. Like, we need that kind of stuff in order to build that resilience. Okay, so think about it. There's actually been studies done that have compared kids that grew up in rural communities, so basically kids that are outside a lot playing in the dirt and the cow manure and, Nebraska, for example, versus urban kids who don't have that exposure. And they track these groups for 20 and 30 years, and they realize that these rural kids that are exposed to the dirt, the dust, the dander are way healthier than the ones that are growing up in an urban setting that just aren't exposed to that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the point of this slide. Now, fevers specifically are an overall beneficial process for us. Fevers and coughs, things like that, they're meant to, and I know I'm probably preaching to the choir with a lot of you guys, but they're meant to be our defense. Like when your body temperature elevates, it's because like bacteria and viruses can't withstand the heat. Your body's trying to burn it up, right? It's trying to kill it. And that's a good thing. So if you have a fever of 101, 102, why are we trying to decrease that? That's the question, guys. Now, if you know me at all, if a temperature skyrockets to dangerous levels, obviously, I hope you're hearing me right. You need to obviously be cautious with that. We are with our kids too. But I can tell you our kids have had pretty high fevers, and we try to get it down a little bit, cold washcloths, all the things that you guys know how to do to decrease body temp. But man, we let those fevers ride to the best of our ability. We let coughs ride without suppressing them with a cough medicine that suppresses, because you're literally trying to get that crud out by coughing it out. Okay, so again, different types of coughs, different types of respiratory issues call for different interventions, but you guys kind of get my main point there. All right, this slide is called The Four Eyes of Chronic Illness. Inflammation, acute and chronic inflammation are very different. Acute inflammation is a good thing. Like if you injure yourself, if you sprain your ankle, for example, your body needs to have inflammation in that ankle area to help it heal, right? Same thing with an acute illness. You need inflammation and inflammatory response in your body to fight and kill whatever you're dealing with, a bacteria, a virus, etc. But when it becomes chronic inflammatory response, that it leads to a whole host of issues. Like I already said earlier, you can see on this little diagram, all of these things, and this is just scratching the surface of what chronic inflammation underlies. I mentioned Alzheimer's, a lot of pulmonary stuff, arthritis is, if you have joint pain and arthritis, it's an inflammatory response. Decrease the inflammation in your body, and I guarantee that joint will feel better, even if it's bone on bone. I've seen it 100 million times over, okay, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The second thing is imbalance. So if there's chronic inflammation, it's going to create an imbalance in your body and the systems of your body. And specifically tonight, we're talking about the immune system. There's going to be some interference happening in the normal processes of your body and the injury and illness. So this is where, physical stress, chemical stress, and emotional or environmental, chemical and environmental are kind of interchangeable. And then you have physical and emotional stressors. Okay. All of these things lead to this inflammatory response. The first two things on this list can be good, but the last two never are. If there's ever an actual interference, and if there's injury and illnesses that become chronic in nature, that's what I specifically am talking about. That is not ever a good thing. Okay. So what does that mean? Let me tie this all together. So if you have an injury or an illness, okay, you're going to have some interference in your systems. But as long as your body's taking care of it, these imbalances will develop. But if we treat that correctly, the imbalances will balance out and we're going to heal and be completely fine. If we don't treat it correctly is where the problem then starts to develop. So then it's going to lead to that chronic inflammatory response when it doesn't resolve. Okay, so chronic inflammation, I've already said this, I think 3 times, but hey, you know what? Didn't they say, like, it used to be like you have to say something 7 times before someone actually gets it and understands it. And now it's because of the age of technology we're in and we're all so distracted. It's like you have to say something 23 times for someone to actually hear you. Mind-boggling, right? So you're going to hear me say this about 37 more times, just so you guys get it. But chronic inflammation, even a low-grade inflammatory response in your body, which a lot of us have that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it's going to lead to all of this chronic stuff. Okay, so think about your kids, think about you. You deal with constant ear infections. You have constant coughs that won't go away, constant runny noses, constant pulmonary issues, or they come and they go so frequently. They just don't seem to be able to kick the sick. Or again, you as well. You're just always feeling, man, it's the next thing, specifically over these winter months. Okay, but it's not just these illnesses and sicknesses that I'm talking about. So there's other signs to look for, like rings underneath the eyes, like the dark bags, the dark circles. Yeah, maybe you're not getting enough sleep, but that's actually a big sign a lot of times of gut issues that are going on. Rashes and skin conditions, congestion, again, gastrointestinal issues, constipation. These are all huge telltale signs that something's not going right in that immune system. Speaking of gastrointestinal, and I mentioned constipation, how many times should you poop in a day? Here's another little fun tangent. I don't know if you know me, I like to talk about poop because, who doesn't really? Probably a lot of you, you're sitting there like, yeah, he's the oddball. Yeah. If you think logically, let's just say you're me and I eat basically 2 meals a day and I snack too, but I intermittent fast. So I should poop twice a day. Because my gastrointestinal system is designed to consume food and it has a certain, process that it goes through the intestines and timing and all that. So I should have 2 good bowel movements a day. If your kids aren't pooping at least minimum once, if not twice a day, if you are not pooping once or twice or 3 times a day, there's something going on. Now, you may not feel a lot of symptoms of that, but there's something going on that more than likely will lead to something else down the road, because our gastrointestinal health is at the forefront, the crux, like the center, the foundation of so many other health issues. And I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. I absolutely love this quote. You cannot out-medicate, you cannot out-diet, you cannot out-fitness, and you cannot out-supplement a stressed-out lifestyle. and an unhealthy gut. Because there's two things, again, I could talk for hours about all this stuff, guys. I do have some free resources. I'm going to point you guys in the right direction later if you want to know more about specific topics, but gut health and nervous system health. If I was to pick two things that if I would focus on any person that I come in contact with that becomes a patient of mine, if I just focused on those two things, 99% of these people would improve, because they're that important. Not only does the nervous system rule everything, it controls everything, but we know now that the gut is literally underlying so many of these chronic illnesses and how unhealthy we are. Specifically, we're talking about the winter months. So it's going to just kind of become more apparent in these months as the immune system is a little bit more suppressed. So we need fitness, we need exercise, we need movement. I think everybody knows that. We need proper nutrition. Everybody knows that. We need mental health strategies, right? We all know that. Today, we're talking about the immune system, okay? And did you know, some of you guys know this, some of you don't, that 80%, 70 to 80% of your immune system literally lives inside of your gut. So if you don't have a healthy gut, you cannot have a healthy immune system. Literally, it's just a fact. So and here's the crazy part. I was an example of this craziness because so many of you guys listening have gastrointestinal symptoms, okay? Heartburn, okay? Gas out either end, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, irregular bowel movements like I just talked about. Any of those signs and symptoms that you have on any sort of a consistent basis, you got gut issues. Now, here's the crazy part. I didn't have any of that stuff. And when I started running labs on myself to figure out what the heck was going on with me, my gut was a mess. I was asymptomatic. I had a yeast overgrowth. I had bad bacteria. I had a parasite at one time. Like I had stuff going on in my gut that for me was not causing gut issues, but it was literally causing everything else that was going on in me, right? It was absolutely mind-boggling for me to wrap my head around that. So unless you test, you really don't know. But anyway, I digress. The gut and our stress response / our mental health are linked intimately. If you don't know this, because again, I know a lot of you guys are well educated in health in this class here tonight, but everybody's probably at least heard the gut-brain connection, right? The gut and the brain are intimately connected. And here's how. You're going to see this word pop up a little later, but the vagus nerve. Google vagus nerve and you're going to read and find so much cool stuff. But the vagus nerve is one of 12 cranial nerves. So you only have 12 cranial nerves. Basically means they come directly from the brain, 12 of them. Okay, this is one of them. It goes down through your neck and into your abdomen, and it literally controls your entire gastrointestinal system. It also has branches to the heart and the lungs, so it can have things to do with the pulmonary system and the cardiovascular system as well. And then here's the latest research. And again, this is not like it's new, but in the last 20 or so years, they found a part of this vagus nerve that actually goes back into the brain. It wraps back into the brain and goes to the center of the brain where social, emotional, behavioral regulation control centers are. So a lot of the things that have to do with anxiety, depression, and other mental health things like ADHD, etc. So this is where it becomes, this vagus nerve is the intimate connection between your brain and your gut. So if you have gastrointestinal systems, if you all hopefully have a gastrointestinal system, if you have gastrointestinal issues, symptomatic or not, literally 9 out of 10 people who have any kind of gastrointestinal issues will have some sort of mental health, anxiety, depression, OCD, ADHD, ADD, you name it, right? Almost everybody. I'm sure a lot of you can sit here and go, yep, I got both, right? And vice versa, right? So this nerve connects the brain and the body, specifically the gut, just with a fascinating connection there. So that's why these two things are so highly related and important. Now, here's another quote for you. Sorry, I got to drink water. I talk a lot and I'm like yelling at my computer. See, I told you I get passionate. And so like, I'm not yelling at you guys. I usually try to say that in my talks because I'm like, I feel like I'm yelling at you. But this quote, all disease starts in the gut. Think about that for a second. All disease starts in the gut. What crazy person said this? No, it wasn't me. Just so you know, it wasn't this crazy guy. Let's check this out. Dr. Alessio Fasano, Who is that? Who is that? Well, he's got a decent curriculum vitae here. He's got a pretty good resume. Harvard Medical School trained in Harvard faculty currently to this day. He's the director of immunology and biology research at Massachusetts General Hospital. He's the founder of the Center for Celiac Research. And he's the chief professor in pediatric gastroenterology at Harvard Medical School, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. The guy is brilliant, and his research with one of his articles, if you like to read research, is down on the bottom there. All disease begins in parentheses, leaky gut. So all disease starts in the gut. If you don't think the gut's important to your immune system, to your health, everything that you have going on, it's probably linked somehow, some way. Okay, so in my functional medicine practice, there's a reason why I look so hard at people's gastrointestinal systems and how they're functioning. Okay, but this is not a gut health talk, but just I want you to know how critical this subject is. I think you guys get the point there. If you're interested in learning more about the gut, literally just go to my website or go to my social media pages, to my link tree, Facebook, Instagram, and you can find, I had a gut health masterclass last year, I think, or earlier this year. I don't remember when it was, that you can watch, and it's packed full of information specifically just with the gut. Okay, so go watch that. But here's the big picture overview, kind of these four main things that you need to kind of remember. The nervous system is the boss, right? So that vagus nerve, just the nervous system in general, make sure it's functioning at full potential and power. So this is how much stress we're under, our mental health. These kind of things need to be addressed if you're not addressing them with you. And even your kids, guys, like kids, a lot of us probably walk around thinking, well, how stressed out can my kid be? You know, they're only 6 years old or 8 years old. Man, our kids are under more stress this day and age than ever before. Now, when I say stress, I'm going to talk about this more in a minute. I don't mean just, most of us probably think like emotional stress, right? That's not all stress is. Stress has three main things. Physical stress is one. Emotional stress is one, but chemical stress / environmental stress. So go back a few slides, I talked about this. And that environmental and chemical stressor is the biggie. It is a biggie that's just become more and more of an issue over time. You know, all of the things we all hear about, pesticides and herbicides and glyphosate and all these things that we're exposed to on a daily basis. And our little kids' bodies cannot tolerate that stuff. And it's causing and wreaking havoc in their health. I guarantee it. Number two, movement is life. So for everybody, physical movement, but also gut movement, AKA bowels, right? So if you're sedentary all day, if you sit all day at a desk and you don't move and exercise, not only is your physical body, your joints, your muscles, all of that going to suffer the consequences, but that literally will impact what's going on in your guts too. You know, because those require that physical movement to be healthy too. Number three, sleep. You can't get too much everything. Make sure you're sleeping enough every night. And that's a whole nother topic. And then number four, this is another huge topic, is live clean. Chemicals and our health do not mix. So I have access. I'll give you guys, I have a free guide to clean living. Simply, if you're interested in that, just shoot me an email. The email's on the bottom of the screen, and I'll send that to you. Just some really basic things about how to start living clean, getting rid of chemicals, what to look for. And I give you some resources on where to look to buy more natural products to start using in your house for you and your kiddos or grandkids or whoever. Okay. Plumbing and drainage. So the next thing I want to talk about is just kind of how the body's supposed to work as far as getting crud out. So you get a bacterial infection, you get a virus, like what's supposed to happen? Your immune system's supposed to attack it and kill it, but then you need to get the crud out. So, you know, your neck is a key. If you suffer from sinus issues and colds and all of the junk up here in the top half of you, your neck is really important. Anatomically, there's drainage pathways that in so many of us, when we're really tight or we stare at a computer all day or look down at a phone or a tablet, you know, your neck anatomically, your cervical spine is literally blocking some of those drainage pathways. So massage therapy, chiropractic work, all of your own self exercises and stretching become really important for this. Okay. if you look at the picture on the right, that's your lymphatic system. It basically follows your arteries and your veins, and really it takes all this crud from your body and it drains it where it needs to go to be detoxified and gotten rid of, right? So we need this system to be working well in order to be healthy. So is that lymphatic system working optimally? That's the question. How do you, and I'll spoil it for you. Most of ours are not. Most of ours are not, okay? So here's the things you can do to make sure you have an optimally functioning lymphatic system. Number one is stay hydrated. I guarantee 80% of you don't drink enough water in a day, okay? So real quick, I didn't plan on saying all these details, but real quick, take your body weight, divide it by 2. That's the amount of ounces of water you need at minimum every day. So I weigh 200 pounds. I need 100 ounces of water a day. If you're like me and you like to drink maybe some coffee, and I sweat a lot, okay, I'm going to take the amount of diuretic, so coffee, soda pop, I mean, anything you drink that's a diuretic, take the number of ounces you drink of that and double it. So if I drink 20 ounces of coffee, I need 40 extra ounces of water. So that puts me at 140 total. And then if I go work out and I sweat or I go sit in a sauna, it's hard to calculate, but let's just add another 20 to 30 ounces just from that. So I'm up to like 150, 160, 170 ounces a day. You can see how easy it would be to become dehydrated, right? And this is really crucial. If you have high blood pressure, if you have cardiovascular issues, if you have swelling, just so many things, you're likely dehydrated. And the other thing that goes with this is electrolyte balance. So I know a lot of you guys have seen, and because you go to the grocery store now and there's a whole section of electrolytes that you can buy, like electrolyte packets. That's a really important thing because you can drink a ton of water and it can actually just pass through you without actually ever being absorbed and utilized. So adding some electrolytes is not a bad idea. You don't have to buy the expensive stuff though. You can add fresh fruit to your water, lemon, lime, oranges, all that kind of stuff. I use lemon essential oil and I do some drops in my water. All of those things are adding electrolytes. I use pink Himalayan sea salt and some other things that I'll put in my water as well. Okay, I'm going to kind of skip through some of this real quick. It's just for time's sake. So stress, we're going to go back to stress. So this quote by Dr. Bruce Lipton, he's a PhD researcher. You cannot be in growth and protection at the same time. What does that mean? I'm going to fast forward to this. Think about your body. And we're specifically talking about the nervous system for a second, because the nervous system has ultimate control of our immune system. Okay. And vice versa, like that gut brain connection I talked about. So think about this like your car. You all have the RPM dial thing on your car. You hit the gas and it revs up and the RPMs go sky high, right? So think about your car at rest. You come to like say a stop sign or a stoplight. That's your parasympathetic nervous system. That's also known as your brake pedal. It's like your slow down system of your body. The gas pedal of your nervous system is called the sympathetic part. That's just gonna roar things up. Okay. Now, what determines whether you go low or high is stress. So kind of remember what we just talked about. I call them the 3 T's for simplicity. You got the physical stress or traumas. Okay. You have the emotional stress or thoughts, and then you have chemical and environmental stress, which is toxins that we come into contact with. Now, here's the not so fun part to think about. Stress is cumulative in nature. This is not good because think about it. You don't just take in a bunch of chemicals or have a traumatic situation happen, whether that be maybe you've been through abusive relationships, maybe you had some crazy emotional trauma in your past. These things don't just go away. So they kind of start compiling, especially if we don't do anything to get rid of them. Go to therapy, whatever. Do a detox to get rid of the chemicals. Eat whole healthy food to detox. So these things start to accumulate. It's another reason why as we get older, we get sicker, right? It's just crazy because it's all cumulative in nature. So what does the parasympathetic nervous system activation do? The brake pedal slows us down. We rest, we recover, we heal. Our digestive system is more active in the parasympathetic phase or when that's active. Your immune system function increases if the parasympathetics are turned on. You have that improved vagus nerve tone or function. So even mental health type things will improve. You have improved inflammatory control. The opposite of that with the sympathetics. If you are stressed out all day, every day, if you're always on the go, you're always busy, you never slow down, or you've had a lot of traumas and chemical exposure, all the things, right? Then you're probably stuck in this ramped up RPM sympathetic dominant state. So this is what happens. It literally causes a decrease in your immune function, a decrease in your digestive function. You're going to have what's called cortisol dumps. So stress hormones, adrenaline, cortisol are high all day, every day. You're eventually going to get burnt out, right? You have a decrease in that vagal tone and function. So mental health concerns become more of an issue. Gut issues become more of an issue. You're going to be more susceptible to injuries, your recovery is going to slow down. Like, how many people do I hear that say, oh man, I'm just getting old. Like, I get out of bed every morning. It takes me 30 minutes before I can even like stand up straight. All of these things, right? Like, it doesn't have to be that way. I used to be that guy. Like, when I was 30 years old, I'd get out of bed and like feel like I was 20 years older than I was, 30 years older than I was. I get out of bed now and I'm like springy, jumpy. Let's do it. Let's attack the day, right? And it's not because of anything crazy I did. I implemented the strategies I'm talking about tonight. So working on your stress, the stress in your life, those 3 T's in your life, okay? If you're dominant in your sympathetics, kind of drive the point here, you're going to probably feel more stressed out. You're going to probably have more anxiety. You're probably going to eventually feel kind of run down, burn out. You're always on the go. You probably worry a lot. Those kind of symptom patterns are very common. If you have this, what we call a parasympathetic shift, which means your sympathetics have been slammed, your gas pedal's been slammed to the floor for so long that you start running out of gas, we call that a parasympathetic shift. That's not a good thing either. That's going to be more chronic fatigue, lack of motivation, maybe some depressive type tendencies. Chronic long-term stress patterns have this. And that's a scary shift because that's usually the people that end up, on more medications and more health concerns that have had this happen, because it usually takes a long time to get there. When should we be in each of these? So sympathetic and parasympathetic is what I'm talking about. You should fluctuate between these two all day, every day, but at nighttime when you're sleeping specifically is when that parasympathetic brake pedal should be on. And it's one of the things I'll throw in there. Well, the reason I have poop on the screen again is because when you wake up in the morning, it's like clockwork for myself, since I got this figured out, that within 15 or 20 minutes, it's time to go to the bathroom. Like, because my parasympathetics, my digestive system has been working well all night during rest, and my nervous system is balanced. And so it's ready to eliminate, right? That is a really, really healthy, normal response. If that's not you, if that's not your kids, there's probably something going on that needs to be looked at. What are the consequences if this whole system, this nervous system is dysregulated? Fill in the blank. Like, literally, this is underlying so many health issues. You can literally fill in the blank there. And then I know a lot of people on the call are really into fitness and health. And even if you're not, like, just when it comes to recovery and injuries and illnesses like we're talking about tonight, this dysregulation in your nervous system, if you're stressed out all the time, you're going to have slower recovery. You're not going to have the performance you want maybe in the gym or in life. You're going to have decreased healing potential. You're going to have a decreased overall potential. You're just going to get sick more often, more than likely. So how in the world do we change it? Okay, the nervous system health and proper balance is the key. You got to start paying attention to your gut health by clean eating, whole food eating, and then reducing the chemical exposure in your life, right? Nutrition and smart supplementation, okay, can be effective as well, but not as much without the first two on the list, the nervous system and gut health, okay? So you can take all the supplements in the world, but if these other two things, your gut and your nervous system, are a wreck, those supplements aren't going to do a whole lot of good. Okay, I hope you guys get the point there. And the fourth bullet point there is it's been a staple in our house for over 10 years where we use a lot of essential oils. Plant-based medicine before the 1920s when Rockefeller took over our medical system, medicine was plant-based medicine, herbal remedies, and they worked. The Chinese and ancient Chinese, they have it figured out. Their medical system is nothing like ours, and they're probably some of the healthiest people in the world because they still use herbals and plant-based medicine. So essential oils is one great way to do that. And if you want to do, here's the deal. There's a lot of oil companies out there. I'm just throwing this up there because through my research, I just felt like doTERRA had the best testing, the best third-party testing, the best purity. So you can go check things out at my.doterra.com/DrScottFM if you'd like to. And I'll put that link in the chat here in a little while too. I'm going to give you guys a lot of links here at the end that you can just simply click on and save. So let's talk about some supplementation real quick. So smart supplementation, what do I mean by that? You need to find reputable and ethical companies. So I'm going to kind of take a little bit of a turn here in the talk because here's the recommendations. I'm going to start giving you guys some recommendations to start helping with all of these things that I've talked about: the gut, the immune system, the mental health and the brain. Most of what you find at stores these days, and there was studies done on this that have shown time and time again, the fillers that are put in them, they're not what they say they are. It's like a lot of marketing has gone into these things, and they're just literally flat out lying because these companies are not regulated. So it's a pretty sad deal. So you have to go with brands that practitioners have done their research on, and the companies are ethical. And they make good products, and also third-party tested and physician formulated. I think those are the main things for me when I'm recommending products. So these three companies on the screen right here: Zymogen, Panacea, and then Hummingbird. Hummingbird is a white label of Zymogen. So it's kind of basically the same thing. These are great companies. Thorne is another really great company that does third-party testing. And like I said, as far as essential oils go, doTERRA. I know there's probably others, guys. Again, that's just the one we use. They do a lot of third-party testing, and they're CPTG certified as well, which means they go through a certification process for purity, that's pretty important. Okay, here's another link. Again, I'll put this in the chat here at the end, but this is a link to my e-store. So I literally have a store where you can look at and browse supplements. I'm going to give you guys some ideas of what to start with here in a while for the winter months. But this is a great way for you guys to know that the things in this store were basically handpicked by me, the companies, and so they're just going to be high quality products. And when you search like a Panacea or a Zymogen, yeah, you can find a lot of their stuff on Amazon. And because I wanted to tell you guys the truth is I just yesterday I was looking at Amazon to see just kind of the comparison. And on average, there was a $5 or $10 difference as far as my e-store versus Amazon, my e-store being the cheaper, okay, of the two. So again, that may not be true for all of them. You can always do your own research. But just so you know, there's usually pretty good savings as far as a practitioner website like mine. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start giving you guys some recommendations. So this winter bundle is what I'm going to call it, that you've got to have this in your quote unquote medicine cabinet. I don't have a medicine cabinet at home. I don't have very many medicines, but kind of our self-care, our sick cabinet. Okay. So here we go. And the reason I'm telling you this is you need to have these because most of these are going to work really well if you nip things in the butt, right? So like if you start to feel, or if your kid starts to feel a little runny nose or a little congestion, a little sinus, a little allergy, a little upset stomach, like a flu bug, body aches, hit it hard with this stuff. And you will more than likely 90% of the time, you'll knock it out of the park before it even gets started. Number one is called Avir. It's an antiviral. These are all natural supplements, ancient Chinese remedies and herbals that gets rid of toxins in your body. So it really can kind of bind up to those flu bugs and those bad viruses and bacteria and get them out. So anytime you have early flu-like symptoms, you can take 3 to 4 of these every few hours on day one and then start to lower the dosage as the signs and symptoms decrease into that second day. And like I said, you take a lot real quick and it's going to knock it out of the park. The second one is called Flu X. This is an antibacterial and an antiviral that also helps with congestion. So 3 to 4 capsules every few hours on day one, same thing. That's a starting point. Day two, you take like 3 to 4, about 3 times that day. At the most you should do these is 3 to 4 days. After that point, you should not be taking that many for sure. Okay. If symptoms are, more severe in that first day, you would combine these two things together. You would take both of these. Okay. And then if you're one that has sinus issues or someone in your house has allergies, even seasonal allergies, this one called Super Sinex is really powerful. You take 3 of those 2 times per day going into a season of allergies and to get ahead of them before they start. But if they've already started, you can up the dosage and knock it out of the park. Okay. And then start to titrate down as signs and symptoms start decreasing. So in a minute, in a little while, I'm going to put in the chat, I'm going to put, you can go to the e-store and just search these yourself, but I'm going to put a link to this little bundle for ease for you guys. Okay. Another little bundle that I'm going to put together just so you guys can look at it is what I call my foundational bundle. So here's the things that are in that. Like if you're just like, oh, I just don't know what supplements to take. Everybody has a different opinion. Let me explain these real quick. I think most people need to be on a multivitamin because our food is just depleted and deficient in vitamins and minerals. Okay. So the Multi-Active X is a multivitamin that has more stuff and better stuff in it than most multivitamins. Most of us need a B complex vitamin, right? And if you know anything about B vitamins, they need to be in methylated version for most of us. I'm not going to go into why that is, but it's just important to have a methylated form of vitamin B. So if you take a vitamin B and it's not methylated, you probably need to look into this one, okay? And omega. Now, omega, the 650 is a little bit lower dose. If you have a lot of cardiovascular risk factors or issues, the 1300 is going to be a higher therapeutic dose. That's going to be for you more than likely. But again, talk to your practitioners or ask me. Number 4, vitamin D with K2, a liquid form that you can put in your mouth, let it absorb right into your tongue, into your bloodstream. I give this to my kids every day, even. It's powerful. Vitamin D is huge for your immune system. And most of you guys already know this, but in the summer, when you're getting a lot of sunlight, your body makes vitamin D from sun. So in the winter months, most of our vitamin D tanks. So we need to be on a vitamin D more than likely over the winter months. Okay. It's really going to help our immune system. This is literally one of many reasons why the winter time people get sick more. It's not because it's colder necessarily. It's because things like vitamin D go down because we're not outside as much. And so that's an important one to take. Why K2? Really quickly, vitamin D and with K2 has been shown to make calcium go into your bones and not in your soft tissues. So that's pretty important as far as like cardiovascular risk factors. So you want that combination of vitamin D with K2. All right. So if you're taking a vitamin D and it doesn't have K2 in it, I would really look into switching to this version here. And then lastly, I think this is an incredible supplement. Biotoxin binder. If you've never heard of a binder, there are many different ones out there, but basically it does what it says. It binds to things. It binds to viruses and funguses and molds and mycotoxins, all the crud that we don't want in our body. It binds them up and helps you eliminate them. Okay, so this is something that can be really powerful, especially if you've been under a lot of stress load in that chemical world and maybe you don't eat the best, etc. So that's going to be really good. Okay, and I'm right at the hour, so I'm going to fly through some of this, but this is, again, I hope you guys, if you can't stay, that's fine. I know it's been an hour. I didn't promise an hour anyway. Like I didn't ever market this as being an hour-long talk. So, maybe it's just me, but I know you guys have busy lives. So this slide is important here, the next couple of slides, and I'm just going to kind of put them up and you can kind of look at them. But as far as a healthy nervous system goes, my background is in chiropractic, and I know that's a very powerful thing. So if you're not getting adjusted regularly, I would really advise you to do that. But aside from that, the vagus nerve, like we talked about earlier, is really important, for your nervous system health and your gut health. So you can look these things up. I'm not going to talk about things like box breathing, but look up box breathing. It's a great technique to help reduce stress hormones and regulate your nervous system. Things like having gratitude practices, prayer practices, meditation practices, even things like humming and gargling. Yeah, it sounds funny, but look them up. Those have been shown to activate the vagus nerve, which can help regulate your nervous system. Sleep, obviously. If you struggle with sleep, I tell you what, on an individual basis, you can take a stress assessment, and I'm going to give you guys the link to that as well. And I can give you a little feedback on there's some really powerful and great supplements for quality of sleep, depending on what's going on. Is your mind racing a lot? Are you just waking up a lot through the night? Do you have insomnia? I mean, all of these things matter, and I might recommend some different things for that. So let me know if you want help in that world. No, movement is medicine. Obviously we all know that. And then as far as eat clean, healthy foods, this is a big deal. But I don't have time. Again, in my gut health masterclass, I go over more of this, but dairy-free, gluten-free, processed food, sugar-free, that sounds really hard to do. It's not as hard as I have people do this all the time. And they're like, you know what? That hasn't been as bad as I thought it was going to be. And you will reap the rewards. Most of us don't have sufficient, lactase enzymes. And so that's why dairy causes an issue. Specifically, if you have sinus issues, respiratory type stuff, all the junk up here, dairy is probably contributing or making all of that worse. I mean, 9 times out of 10. So watch that. Gluten, oh my gosh, that's a huge subject. Just trust me right now, that American gluten, because it is different than European gluten, is something that causes a ton of inflammation in our body and can cause bad things. Okay. If you don't know what the clean 15 and dirty dozen list is, simply Google it. Do your grocery shopping for produce based on the clean 15 and dirty dozen. You're going to thank me for that over time, because basically what it is they study how much pesticide and herbicide content our produce has. You're okay to eat the clean 15 non-organically, but the dirty dozen are the ones you want to buy organic, because they're full of crap. They're full of crap that's going to wreak havoc on your health. Everyday boosters, right? So just something to think about putting in your and your kids' diets every day, making sure you're getting a lot of whole foods. Obviously, we talked about omega-3s, vitamin C and D, and then probiotics. Probiotics, not all are created equal. So make sure you get a good quality, reputable brand of probiotic, and also lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. I know I'm throwing out some big names, so if you guys have questions, just email me, but a good quality probiotic that has the right strains of bacteria in it. Okay, and then immune system builders, we all probably know this, like zinc, vitamin A, fruits and veggies. Fermented foods are a little harder in our culture because American diet just doesn't ferment a lot of foods. So that's where like things like apple cider vinegar can be really powerful, putting that in a smoothie or something like that, because it's going to give your gut bacteria some good fermented foods to feed off of. Bone broth is also really good. Okay, this slide here is packed full of information. Okay, so specifically, I just wanted to highlight a couple things. If you have kiddos or you yourself have a lot of earaches and ear infections, there's a lot of homeopathic remedies here, but the one highlighted is we have never had a kid that's had to have tubes in their ears or a medication for an ear infection. We used garlic mullein oil every single time. They started playing with their ear, they started getting something, we used that garlic mullein oil, and it cleared it up every single time. And of course, we're chiropractors, so we would adjust our kids as well. That's very powerful to help open up those pathways, those drainage pathways from the ears, kind of come right through that jaw/upper neck. Okay. I'm gonna kind of rush through this. So if you guys want to, I'll give you a second to screenshot that if you want it. Because I talk about sinus, coughs, congestions, fevers, sore throats, some natural antimicrobials. But I want to get to the end here so I don't keep you guys all night. So if you want to screenshot that, I'll give you a chance. Another thing that I've found works really well if our kids have like mostly like respiratory stuff, like, you know, congestion or coughs or wheezing, those kind of issues. Sounds crazy. Slice up onions, a yellow onion, a white onion. I think they work about the same. Slice them up, put them on the bottom of their feet, put socks on them, or I've actually used saran wrap before where you saran wrap them to the bottom of their feet. That seems to work. I have tried it and put it directly on their chest before. It's a little harder to get it to stay, of course. But man, it sounds crazy, but I tell you what, it works. It works like a charm. Okay. So any respiratory stuff, some natural stuff, your kids are probably, you know, I don't know. My kids didn't throw a fit when I wrapped their feet up with, but they know we're weird. So, you know, I guess they're probably used to it. So easy and more practical and easy ways to improve your health daily. Here you go. I'm going to fly through these slides because we're almost done. I want to get to the end. But oregano. Oh my gosh, guys, if you don't cook with oregano, start doing it. Put it in as much stuff as you can. It has antiseptic effects at the gut level. It helps clean up bad bacteria. You can use essential oil of oregano. If you don't like to cook with oregano, just buy a bottle of, this. And there's just so many powerful, like I said, antiseptic, antimicrobial, and antiviral properties to it. Man, they've actually seen in recent studies that oregano literally is an anti-inflammatory and has anti-diabetic and even cancer suppressing agents in it. That's crazy. I mean, plant-based medicine. It also has been shown in a couple studies that people who took a little oregano after meals showed a significant reduction in their bad cholesterol, known as LDL. So anybody who has cholesterol issues, start cooking and taking oregano, use oregano essential oil. Okay. Garlic, kind of the same thing. Cinnamon. So I'll tell you, I use cinnamon essential oil. Sometimes I'll sprinkle that in my water too, for example. But these are all just such powerful, easy things to cook with, or get the oils if you want to add them to water. I mean, that's the easiest, or add them to smoothies if you make smoothies. Such powerful stuff if you start doing it on a daily basis. I already mentioned apple cider vinegar. So raw organic apple cider vinegar helps blood sugar levels, helps your immune system. Some people, it's been shown to help weight management, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on with this stuff. Okay. So there's a study right there that showed, blood sugar levels, fasting plasma glucose and hemoglobin A1C lowered with the consistent use of apple cider vinegar. Take a shot of it every morning. That'll wake you up, right? So turmeric and curcumin, most of you guys have heard of that. You can take a supplement of that, but I use turmeric with black pepper. Those two need to be combined together for it to be activated and work like it should. So remember that, turmeric with black pepper. And I'll put this in anytime I'm making basically meat, like hamburger, anything, chili, anything like that. I'll put turmeric in. And so we get that. I put it in smoothies if I'm making a smoothie and you can't really taste it. So it's an easy way to do that. Okay. And again, there's just some information here on the benefits of turmeric. So I'll let you take a quick look at that. And then vitamin D, I already talked about vitamin D with K2. So this one here by Thorne, again, Thorne is a really great company that does third-party testing. You can get this one in my e-store. Thorne carries products just about everywhere now. So, but like I said, do your research, but inside of my e-store, I get you guys some good, pretty good, decent discounts that you might be able to save a few bucks. Okay, the last subject of the night, antibiotics. I told you I was going to get to this at the end. These next few slides you have a lot of text in them, and I wanted to do that because a lot of these are quotes from a medical doctor. Dr. Rawls is his name. So I'm just going to highlight here. But antibiotics, okay. So I think most of you guys know this, but like antibiotics have gotten better and better over the years. They've developed them to be what are called broad spectrum, right? What does that mean? Broad spectrum. It means they've designed them to not like target a specific bacteria. And that's a good thing because it just is like a nuclear bomb. It kills everything. It doesn't matter if it's a bad bacteria or a good bacteria. It just kills it all. Okay. So it's good in the sense that if it's a life or death situation, if there's a bad infection, it's more than likely going to wipe stuff out. The bad news of that is it wipes out our good bacteria too. Okay. So that's something that we need to not just like fluff off like it's no big deal. That's a huge deal, guys. If you didn't get this from my passion earlier, your gut health is essential to your health. And if your good bacteria are eliminated or a big disruption in them, you will not be healthy. You cannot be healthy. Okay. And then what it highlights here is antibiotics only effectively attack acute bacterial infections. So how many times have you been into the doctor and they're really not sure what's going on? They just give you an antibiotic and it's a virus that's causing your sickness, right? That happens all the time. So we're literally being given antibiotics for viral infections, which does absolutely zero good and only does harm because it's killing all the good stuff in you. So I hope you guys understand that. So things like strep throat, bronchitis, sinus infections, pneumonia, bacterial issues, you know, an antibiotic might be necessary and needed. Might. And that's the key word, might. Our kids have gotten sick. I've gotten sick. And I've not one time in over 10 years. I don't remember the last time I took a medication, to be honest with you, like probably 20 years. But I know for a fact my 10-year-old, my 7-year-old, and my 5-year-old have never had an antibiotic, have never had a fever reducer like Tylenol, have never had a cough suppressant or anything, allergy medication, antihistamine, zero, nada, nil, nothing. Like people don't believe me when I say that. But everything I've talked about tonight, right? Essential oils, supplementing, whole food diets, keeping their stress levels as low as we can. We've adjusted them since the day they were born. So using chiropractic care, all of these things are more powerful than you can even imagine. I mean, can you imagine not having to give your kids a medicine ever again? Like that would be amazing, right? Everybody wants that for your kids, and it is possible. In most cases, again, there might be scenarios where, you know, there's an unfortunate event and something is damaged, you know, where you might have to do that. But again, they can more than likely improve. So Dr. Rawls also says antibiotics continue to be not only misused, but also overused. So like we said earlier, prescribed for viral infections, not going to help. And also overused in the way that, you know, our immune systems likely can take care of something, but people kind of want to feel better as quickly as possible. So we kind of get a little antsy, kind of the nature of our culture, right? We just want it now. So they put you on an antibiotic so you feel better, right? And it does more harm than good. So they also kill good guys. So I already talked about that. Not only your gastrointestinal system, but women, you know, the vagina and vaginal infections. And you have a microbiome in our reproductive areas as well. Right. So that's kind of important to know, because if the good bacteria down there are not healthy, that can present problems for female health and other places in our body as well. Bacteria, I've already said this probably a million times, but your good bacteria play such a positive role in your immunity, your digestion, and other functions and he says even a normal 5-day course of antibiotics can wipe out entire species of good bacteria in your gut. It's a major issue. Okay. Side effects of antibiotics obviously are there too. Stomach issues, yeast infections, diarrhea. About a third of people experience those type of things. But what they don't talk about as far as side effects is longer term side effects, because they're not telling you that if you wipe out the good bacteria in your gut, that's going to cause a whole cascade effect of other issues. Did you guys know that 95% of serotonin is a neurotransmitter, a brain chemical that's kind of like your feel good, that helps you calm down, that does all these positive things. 95% of it's made by your good gut bacteria. Did you know that 50% of your dopamine, another good chemical, good neurotransmitter, we have to have it to be healthy, to feel, you know, the vitality and to feel alive. 50% of it's made by your gut bacteria. I mean, it's just kind of like undeniable what the evidence has shown, that if your gut's not healthy, you are not healthy, and antibiotics ruin that, right? So think about how many times you've been on antibiotics in your life. Think about how many times your kids have been on antibiotics in their lives. Like it adds up, guys. And over the years, it's one of the reasons these chronic illnesses have become more and more common, because these things have been used more and more and more over the years. So I liked Dr. Rawls's quote here in a second. on the very bottom here, he basically says that this antibiotic use has been a big experiment over the last 75 years, and it could be one of the factors contributing to our very high rates of chronic illness. So again, just kind of leave you with that right there. So I'll kind of skip through that slide, but I'm gonna get going here. The first thing you can do to know if you have a healthy microbiome, healthy bacteria, is test, not guess. So yeah, you can take probiotics, but there's so many different types of probiotics, you have no idea which ones you need. There's so many different types of bacteria, you have no idea which ones you need. So testing is the best way to go. And that's the kind of work that we do in functional medicine. You're not going to get this kind of testing in your primary care. A few might do it, like people like Dr. Dodge, who I work with here. He'll run a stool sample on you, but your other physicians will probably look at you like you're crazy. Number 2, eat a diverse and balanced diet full of colorful vegetables, fruits, and healthy carbs and protein. Your microbiome, your gut bacteria depend on colorful vegetables. Why? Because they're fibrous. Fiber is literally the fuel for your gut bacteria. So if you don't eat vegetables, your gut bacteria are not in good shape. If you don't eat some fruit, your gut bacteria are not in good shape. Okay. So, and if you live off of fast food, if you live off of processed food, the easy American diet, your gut bacteria are not in good shape. Okay. So women, you guys need 25 to 30 grams of fiber a day. Men, you need 30 to 35 grams. These are averages for the average man and woman. How many grams of fiber are the average people getting in a day? 12, not even half. Okay, so most of us are deficient in fiber, so our guts are not healthy. All right, eliminating gluten from your diet. Man, if you can do that, that's going to do you a lot of good. You want to test your stomach acid levels. And again, in my e-store, you can actually get a supplement called Gastric Optics. Let me know if you want to do this, because stomach acid is something that's really crucial it's one of the first things that happens in the digestion of your food. And at the age of 30 to 35, our stomach acid levels start going down. And so if you don't have sufficient stomach acid, you're not going to digest your food potentially, right? So it can lead to a whole host of issues. So you can literally test it using a supplement. And I can give you directions on how to do that if you'd like, okay? Staying hydrated, we already talked about that. And eliminating processed foods, chemicals. Please try not to cook your food in the microwave in plastic containers or plastic bags. That is just leaching chemicals into your system that are just poisonous to you, okay? So those are all things just in general. And then specifically after a course of antibiotics, you must eat whole, clean food, right? So those vegetables, those fruits, the protein, the healthy carbohydrates, you got to have that to replenish the bacterial levels that have been killed off by the antibiotics, okay? Number 2, according to Dr. Fasano and a lot of other researchers, if you can avoid dairy, gluten, and processed sugars, you're going to have a better chance of healing your gut. Why? Because these are the most common things that have been linked to leaky gut syndrome and inflammation in your gut and your gut lining. So again, in order to heal that and replenish that and the bacteria from the antibiotic, you need to try to do this. How long do you need to do this? If you're on a 5 to 7 day antibiotic, you're going to need to try to do as close to you can to this for 2 to 3 months. Okay, that's what most of the evidence is showing. So yeah, it's going to take some effort. Number 3, a probiotic. There's even recent evidence and studies that show during the use of an antibiotic, there's positive benefits to your health if you use probiotics. So you're basically reseeding and replenishing the good bacteria in your microbiome if you do that. Number 4, I talked about fiber. Increase your fiber intake, getting enough through foods. If you need to add a fiber supplement, great and fine. But if you're eating whole, clean food, you shouldn't have to do that. Okay, so here again, a recommendation for post-antibiotic therapy. So again, I'll put this in the chat here in a while, but this is what you need to do aside from eating clean and healthy if you have to go on an antibiotic this winter. You need ProBio Daily 350X. This is a therapeutic. You're not going to find this in the store. dose of probiotics with 2 primary strains needed to reseed the good bacteria, lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. Okay, so this isn't expensive. It's like $140, but you only need to do once. You only need it once. Okay, so that's kind of the point here. And then here's some directions on how to take it. You actually titrate up. You start with, they come in little sachets, take a quarter of it the first day or two, then go up to half of one, then to 3/4, and then you start taking a full one until the box is gone. Okay. And kids, usually you're going to stay at half to 3/4 of a sachet per day. That's usually enough for them. Okay. So probiotic, you only need 1 box of this. After that box is gone, I would recommend 2 to 3 months. Again, getting that 2 to 3 month mark, you can move down to the lesser dose, which is called ProBio Daily 100X. Okay. This is a Zymogen white label brand called Hummingbird. Very high quality. Number 2, you need the Panacea supplement called Dysbio. It's going to inhibit the growth of gut pathogenic bacteria and other organisms and promote the growth of friendly good bacteria. One of the things that happens when antibiotics are used is it kills the good bacteria, which gives the opportunity for some of these bad bacteria to overgrow. And the slide I skipped a while ago, I wish I wouldn't have, but I'm running so late. If you've heard of C. diff before, C. diff is a pathogenic bacteria that can get out of control and cause some major, major health issues. Scary stuff. Most of us have C. diff in our gut, but if we have a good ratio of good bacteria to these pathogenic, like a C. diff, it stays under control. You go on an antibiotic, it wipes out your good ones. C. diff is really, really antibiotic resistant. So then the opportunity presents itself and the C. diff kind of takes over. And C. diff is just one example of many. But this is one of the reasons that after antibiotic therapy, there's like a 40 to 50% reinfection rate with the same thing, or an even higher percentage of something new happening. So you're on an antibiotic and then, oh my gosh, a few weeks later, you have to have another one because the next thing kind of attacked you. Now, I hope it's starting to make a little bit of sense for you. This is kind of like it just becomes like a snowball effect a lot of times for a lot of people. So this Dysbio is really, really great. Number 3 is literally a digestive enzyme, because so many of us, our stomach acid levels and our digestive enzymes aren't doing their job properly enough. It's a staple for so many people with GI issues, just to help get your food more digested so it doesn't cause inflammation in your lower gut, and also helps you absorb the vitamins and minerals that you need from your food. And then lastly, I talked about the binder earlier. As you start to reseed with these probiotics and these other things, you want the binder there to help bind up the bad crud and get it out. Okay. All right, we're almost there. Some bonuses here, I'm going to put some of these things in the chat for you guys in a minute. But just a reminder, if you want the guide, I have the guide to clean living. Just email me and I'll send that to you. If you want to dive into, like, maybe that stress part of the talk kind of hit home, or maybe when I was talking about sleep, you don't sleep well at night. I actually have a stress assessment questionnaire that I could send you. And based on the score of that, I would be able to better make recommendations. Email me, request it. And guys, I'm telling you, it's free. I'm not charging for this, okay, tonight. So again, there's going to be some recommendations for you, but just let me know if you want that. Number 3, if you don't know necessarily what functional medicine is, but this is all intriguing to you, or maybe you're like, yep, I know I need this in my life, just do a free consult with me. Scan that QR code that's on your screen right there, and you can schedule a free consult call with me. No cost, okay? Number 4, I mentioned earlier that I work in office out of Alethea Integrative Medicine. They are an awesome practice here in South Lincoln. So if you're in Lincoln, they're offering you guys for acute illness, like acute onset illness, and you just want to hit it and nip it in the butt. You don't want to be down for a week or two. They do IV infusions. Okay. So literally putting vitamins and cocktails of whatever they do right into your bloodstream. They start at $170, and they're worth every penny because, man, they just get you. They're amazing. And they said they are going to, you mentioned that you were on my call tonight. They're going to add on a $50 value ozone treatment, which is basically going to just help your oxidative stress. It's complicated, but anyway, ozone, do it because it's worth it. Okay. So if you guys need that this winter, get a hold of Alethea Integrative Medicine. And this is their phone number. I'll give you a second to screenshot that or write it down, or you could just look up Alethea. All right. And then last but not least, my 16-week functional medicine program, I'm going to give you guys a $500 off deal. It's normally $2,500 to get started. It's a 16-week program. Like I said, there's a ton of value. I educate, and I know some of you guys in this call tonight are my patients. And you guys probably are sitting here nodding like, oh my gosh, there's so much, going on in that 16 weeks. A lot of education, a lot of group calls, a lot of one-on-one time. We do lab work to figure out what's going on with you. Recommendations. You have chat access, text messaging access to me 24 hours a day. So if you want to know more about this program, do the free consult call from the previous page. But otherwise, if you're like, yep, I need this in my life, I'm ready to go. I'm going to give you guys $500 off if you do that here in the next couple of days. I don't take very many people. Limited spots are available, so don't hesitate. Get a hold of me, okay? If you want to screenshot this or just scan these QR codes, if you're interested in this but not sure, scan the QR codes. There's a pay plan option and a pay in full option, both with those deals on them. So I'll give you a second to do that, and then I got a couple more things for you. Make sure, if you don't already, follow my social media pages. Facebook, just look me up, Scott Keller, or Dr. Scott Keller Functional Medicine, either one of those pages. I usually cross post on those. Instagram is Doc S. Keller, and LinkedIn, Dr. Scott Keller. I'm just going to be doing some, I do put out content fairly regularly, but coming up, I'm going to do a little series on mold and mycotoxins. And I'll tell you what, guys, if you're like, oh, I don't have mold in my house, you'll be surprised. A lot of us have mold in our house and we don't know it, but even if you don't, mold is in food, and funguses are in our water. It's everywhere. And so it's scary stuff. And the things that it can cause in your health, you're going to just want some of this information. So just follow me on social media and we'll go from there. And then, of course, I'm not going to stay on this page for a while, but there's just, it's just so fun because, patient, and the reason I got into healthcare in general was to help people, right? And, functional medicine is just such a powerful tool. It's not anything I do. It's the work that people are putting in with just the tools that I give them. And I have seen just amazing results with people, like literally lives and health stories transformed from all over the board, young, old, it doesn't matter. So you can go to my website if you want to read any of those. But what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to give you guys some of those links that I showed you earlier, okay? And then we're going to be done for the night. If anybody has any questions, let me know. You can type those in the chat while I get this going here. Okay, so the first one here, and I will let you know too, if you click on these bundles, it's going to preload a cart, which just makes it easier for you. But you can edit these carts, okay? So you don't have to get the things that are in there. If you want to look at them and kind of decide on a couple of them, great, fine. So that first link is for the foundational bundle. So kind of just those supplements that I just think almost everybody needs. The second one I'm going to put on here is the winter bundle. So that Flu X, the sinus one, and the antiviral. Okay, so there's the winter bundle if you want to click on that. And then the post-antibiotic therapy bundle. I'm just going to label it antibiotic is right there. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see those okay. And then if you just want, you should be able to get it just following those links. But here is also just the link to, just the general link to my e-store. So if you want to browse for other things, you can do that. And lastly, I think the last link I'm going to share is, if you're interested, which I think everybody should look into it, is the essential oils. So there's my essential oil website right there if you want to click on that. So go ahead and click on those, any of them that you want. You can save them to your screen or your computer, whatever you want to do. So, all right, guys. All right, Aaron, see you later. Gonna go put kids to bed. What? It's 9 o'clock. They go to bed already? I'm kidding. My kids probably have been in bed for an hour already. Anybody have any questions, concerns, comments, anything at all? I'm willing to stay for as long as you guys need me. And I'll tell you what, it's been an hour and a half, doesn't surprise me that I went that long. That's usually the case. So if you need to take off, I appreciate you coming. And again, hopefully you guys will get the recording of this and you can pass it along to other people if you learned something from it. And but yeah, I'm willing staying here for a few minutes at least until everybody logs off. If you have any questions. And if not, if there's no questions, I'm just going to sit here in awkward silence. So there you go. You're welcome. Thanks for coming, Tucker. Appreciate you, man. Let me know if you have any questions any other time. Hey, y'all. All right. I don't see any other questions coming in. People are logging off. So if anybody's shy out there and you want everybody to leave before you ask your question, don't wait. I'm probably going to log off and shut this whole thing down here in a couple minutes. So if you have anything you want to ask, let me know now. Or again, you can always email me, Dr. Scott at drscottfm.com. So feel free to do that too. All right, everybody. No questions that I can see coming in. So maybe y'all, left your phones on and computers on and really aren't there. I don't know. Whatever the issue. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your evening, week. Take some of this stuff to heart. And let me know if you have any questions. All right. Till next time, y'all. See ya.